You just rattled off a number of fantastic places to apply this concept. A job interview, a client briefing, a pitch, a negotiation, when you're on a date, when you're trying to get a date, when you're considering how to propose to a partner that you've been serious with for a long time. These are all excellent places to apply the perception and perspective framework. In your words, Ed, to flip the lens. Because if you can, in that moment, in just that 5, 10, 15-minute window of time, if you can stop and think, what does this moment feel like to them?
Yep.
You're going to have an advantage in being able to shape that moment even better in your best interests.
Yep, that's right.
Because you'll be able to think, oh, they probably want to hear me say these words. They probably want to see me act this way. They probably want to understand that this emergency situation is taken care of, whatever it might be. There's something they're looking for. And until you step out of your perception and into their perspective, you won't know what it is that they want. Now, you also asked that, how do you go about actually changing this?
Yeah.
One of the easiest things you can do, and we do it at CIA all the time, is a simple, like, desktop paper exercise, right? Where you imagine anybody that you're close to in your life. You can imagine your child, you can imagine your boss, you can imagine your coworker, your business partner, your spouse, anybody at all. You take a piece of paper, you draw a line right down the middle of the piece of paper. On the left side of the paper, you write down all the things you try to be for that person. You try to be reliable, you try to be honest, you try to be fair, you try to be, timely, you try to be professional, whatever it is. On the other side of the paper, you have to do the exercise of saying, okay, if I put myself in my son's shoes, what does my son see from me? I try to be patient, but you know what my son sees? He sees me lose my temper, right? He sees me ignore his questions. He sees me get frustrated with his mom. He sees me work late. He sees me wake up early. He sees me leave for a business trip some days without saying goodbye. Well, what I find is that now on my side of the paper, what I think I'm doing is very different than what he sees me doing. And when you see that on a piece of paper, that's when it really starts to set in, like, oh, I can do this in real time also. And you have to see the problem before you can be aware of the problem in real time. That's what's so hard. That's the intelligence piece of it.
Yeah, last night I was in this room I'm in right now with my son and his very good friend, who I love like a second son. And they're at this age now, they're both in their 20s, where they like want real feedback. They think, right? So just, they're sitting about 30 feet from where I am right now. And I call them boys, but they're in their 20s. And both boys said, hey, what do you think would hold me back, Dad? And he calls me Dad too, from winning. And I started to give them a real answer. And I started to watch the face of the other boy as I was doing it. And there was just a point in my feedback where I went over a line that was his comfort level for what he was hearing. But because I've switched the lens and I was actually listening to that conversation from his perspective, I saw when that line got moved, where I'd crossed it, and I was able to pivot and move it and bring him back up and build him back up again. This is a really important thing, you guys, in all of your relationships, from your business stuff to everything that you do. It also just takes the pressure off you from seeing things from their perspective. I think the work that Andrew's doing on this stuff is like super cutting edge. I totally support it. I love it.